Extinction Rebellion is an umbrella organisation for people who care about the climate and ecological emergency, as verified by 99% of scientists across the globe, and who believe that we need to take radical action. Our three core demands is that the government tell the truth about the real severity of the situation as it is, that we move towards a demand for getting to net zero carbon emissions by 2025, and that the government call a citizens' assembly in order to make decisions as to how this is best brought about in our society.
We're here to save the planet.
I'm here basically because of my grandchildren and wanting them to have a better world.
30 years of not very much happening in combating climate change, so I think yes, I think we've got to do something now. My generation has watched and we haven't done enough.
We are in a climate crisis, and for many, many years we have known that, and governments have subsequently failed to take action. So basically Extinction Rebellion is people putting their bodies on their line, committing civil disobedience to say enough is enough, we need to take action on climate change now, we need to tell the truth, and we need to demand climate justice.
Because the time is now. We know that we've got less than a decade to make changes that we need to change to stop our planet falling into downward spiraling runaway climate change that humans no longer have the power to control. And why this way? Because civil disobedience, peaceful, non-violent protest has proven successful in the past to change the systems that otherwise oppress us.
It'll raise consciousness amongst a wide variety of people, and in that population you will get a critical mass, and once that happens you will go into a virtuous cycle that will be unstoppable. We will have the hearts and minds of the population.
But now it's kind of come to crunch time, and if we don't do something now, then they're not going to have a chance to.
So yeah, I think now's a good time.
I'm Dr. Emily Grossman. I'm an expert in molecular biology and genetics. I have a first-class degree in natural sciences from Cambridge University and a PhD in cancer research, and I'm one of the co-founders of a group called Scientists for Extinction Rebellion. So the Paris Agreement has said that we have to stay within 1.5 to 2 degrees warming. Scientists agree that 1.5 degrees warming, we mustn't go above that. The point is that there are so-called tipping points and feedback loops, and there is no way we can predict when those are going to kick in and when we will reach the point of no return. So if this emergency is not listened to and is not listened to right now, and action is not taken right now, we are currently on course for heading to 4 degrees temperature increase by the end of the century. There are many prominent climate scientists who have together agreed that this is such a catastrophic risk for our planet, for our civilization, for our people, that this cannot be let to happen. At 4 degrees, top climate scientists are saying that they cannot imagine how our planet can sustain more than about 1 billion people, and we currently have a population potentially rising up to about 9 billion by that point. That every single day we delay on this is one day closer to reaching a point of no return, by which point we commit ourselves to more and more warming, more and more loss of life, and potential societal collapse, civil unrest, and world wars. So people have often said, why does Extinction Rebellion have to be so radical? Well, the thing is, we literally have tried everything else. The government is saying that they've declared a climate emergency. Of the 24 targets that the government had put in place that must be met in order to start to bring emissions down, only 7 of the goals were actually being addressed. This is unacceptable. Climate scientists have tried everything else for the last 40 years, and no one has listened. If we could do it a different way, if we could simply lobby our MPs or get the media to report on it differently, then absolutely we would be doing that. And scientists such as myself would not be forced to be sitting on the streets, lying on the streets, putting ourselves up for arrest in order to get governments to take notice. Over the past 5 years, the UK has committed £2.5 billion to fossil fuel subsidies. That's more than any other country in the EU. And 15% of the investments in fossil fuels, that's way bigger than anything like what we should have for our country, come from the City of London. So why are the government not doing anything? Who knows? But well, we live in a corporate environment, we live in an environment where we're fueled by greed, where we're fueled by consumer demand. We as the consumers have a role to actually play in saying we don't want to have this consumerism anymore. Of course we need to cut back on using fossil fuels ourselves, cut back on using cars, go on public transport, walk, cycle, cut back on flights, ideally entirely, and stop eating meat and dairy, particularly beef and lamb. For every field that is used to rear, to graze livestock, that involves cutting back on trees, that involves clearing land, that involves leaving the soil open to degradation. And every time we clear forests, not only are we removing trees that suck in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, but we're actually releasing that carbon dioxide because usually those forests are burnt. And of course those fields, it's not just the fields that are used to rear the livestock, but the fields that are used to grow the crops that are used to feed the livestock. 70% of the crops that are grown are actually used to feed livestock. So really there's a massive difference that we can make individually in terms of our transport and in terms of our food intake. But really it's not enough even to do that. What we need to be doing is putting pressure on governments to make structural and systemic changes to really radically cut down on fossil fuel investments, to put measures in place to bring emissions down, to stop opening new power stations, stop investing in big projects like the HS2, which has been named the largest deforestation project since World War I, and to stop basically subjecting us all to conditions that ultimately within the space of, if not decades then years, is going to start having a hugely negative impact on us and our children and on our ability to live on this planet.
We came all the way from Greece with a car, me and two friends, just to be here for the rebellion. It's really important, and we wanted to be here so as to make as much impact as we could.
You know there's a climate crisis, right?
No, mate.
Yeah, I do. You do?
I keep my car engine on when I'm sleeping.
Dude, that's not going to seem so funny in 10 years. Eh?
10 years. Global warming's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Do you know about Extinction Rebellion?
No.
You don't?
Nope.
Do you know about the planet's climate crisis?
No.
Do you want to?
No.
I get educational from higher dimensional spirits. Alright? Global warming is bullshit.
If you look into the science, if you read NASA, if you read the IPCC climate reports, if you read the panels who have reported on biodiversity loss, these are intergovernmental, international panels, it is unequivocal that this is now an impact of human action. Every week that we postpone, every week longer that it takes us to convince governments and to convince the public that the urgency is such that even though it will be an inconvenience to live in a society where we do have to radically change our views towards consumerism, our views towards fossil fuels and transport, even though that will be challenging, it is far, far preferable to the world in which we will live. And climate science deniers are actually taking us further, hurtling us further towards catastrophic and irreversible outcomes which will damage us and our children.